We're live.
Welcome, everybody, to another thrilling episode of Pitch Slapped. I'm Dan. This is Stefen. And tonight, Stefen is going to tell us a little bit. Hold on, let me shut my alarm off. Can we do that again?
No, man, that's perfect. Unless you want to. Do you want to do it again?
No, that's okay.
You're,
Stefen's going to tell us a really exciting idea for a story.
right. Well, thank you very much, Dan the Man. All right. So, like, the idea basically, the title is called Smoke, right? And it is about firefighters who are robbing buildings. And basically, what happens is, like, some of them are down on their luck for a variety of reasons, right? Be it they owe alimony, they're in deep with, like, loan sharks. Like, they all have, like, stuff coming from their own lives. So they decide, uh, you know, one guy decides, like, I need this, I'm taking it, right? And the building's going to go anyway, so no one's going to know this was gone. Insurance will cover it. So that's okay. So then one guy starts doing it, and then that leads to, like, all of them doing it. Like, the whole company. This one whole company's doing it. And then eventually it becomes, like, there's not enough fires to, like, fill the need that they have, right? Like, the champagne lifestyle or fix the debts that they keep, growing. So they start starting fires. You know, they're the ones who are starting it, and then they're answering their own calls. And just kind of how, like, that ultimately ends up backfiring as, like, I want to say, like, a detective starts, like, figuring it out, right? Like, he's like, oh, this is like the fifth fire in a week, or in 2 weeks or something like that, and it's only your company here. And, like, so he starts asking questions. So that's what I got. I got, the title and this kind of thing. I feel like if it were to be directed by somebody, I would really like if I think Gareth Edwards would do a good job. He did, like, the Raid Redemption 1 and 2
Mhm.
and Apostle.
Didn't he
Uh,
do a Star Wars related thing?
oh wait, is that Gareth Edwards? Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong guy.
No,
Gareth
you're
Edwards
probably
did. No, Gareth Evans. Gareth Evans did the Raid. That's who I'm thinking. Gareth Evans.
okay.
Gareth Edwards, you're right, Dan. He did Rogue One. He did Rogue One. But Gareth Evans, the guy who did the Raid and Apostle, that guy, I think he could do it really cheap, right? Because he made, not that the Raid is a cheap movie by any means, but, like, his budget was in Hollywood. He filmed in the
Hmm.
Philippines, and that movie is dope. Um, I don't know. I think Michael B. Jordan would be a good actor for one of the guys, uh, up and coming. He seems like someone who's going to be around for a while. I also think Chadwick Boseman would have been great as, like, the detective, or, rest in power, Chadwick. Uh, but yeah, so I don't know if, like, they get caught in the end, or, like, maybe they burn up in the building. I kind of like that
I was
idea.
gonna ask that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that seems a little bit poetic.
Hmm.
Maybe somebody locks them in the building and lets them
Yeah.
burn. I don't know.
Like
Maybe
so, like,
one.
they do that, and then do you think, like, how does the detect? What are your thoughts on, like, what are your thoughts on that idea? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, 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 no. No. What were you gonna say about the detective? Maybe the detective does what?
Like, do you think,
Continue the
like,
sentence.
is he the one who locks it in them, or just, like sometimes, like, their own company turns on a couple of the guys, like, so they don't get caught, but so those guys die, and then the
Hmm.
detective's like, I'm still coming after you, you're dirty. Or is it like they go in the building and the detective is just like, this company, I don't know, does he solve the case, or do they just die and that's the end?
I don't know. I between the two options you presented, I like the first option where it's like, you know, so a couple of the people are like, yeah, we're gonna, you know, lock you in and set you on fire. And yeah, of course, I love that version. And then the detective's still like out looking for answers. You know, um, yeah. I just think it, however you end this idea, this story, I think doing something with fire clearly makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
Doing something ironic with fire. Hmm, and maybe I don't know. I'm trying to think of another way to spin it, but I don't know. I like the ideas you're throwing down. Um, may I ask, like, where did you what was the seed of this idea? Uh,
I guess just like some of the stuff, right? Some of it's in like the news more so today. One of it's kind of not as drastic, but definitely shitty. When we moved, and I realized I just answered this backwards, but when we moved to this current spot, my mom was missing some jewelry, right? And I mean, not 100% that like a mover stole it, but it's like you were the people touching the stuff.
yeah,
So the idea that you're supposed to be doing a service or helping people, but you're also kind of slimy, right? Is something that's accurate, right? And just because I'm not saying firefighters or anyone like that are bad, they're not, but there are bad people in all walks of life, all positions.
hmm,
So just because you got a badge or you show up doesn't make you a good person, you
yeah,
know. So I think that whole idea of just like, you know, a badge doesn't make you a good person, showing up to something to do your job doesn't make you a good person. Like there's evil everywhere. You know what I mean? But also I think the idea of like desperation in trying times hits everybody, right? So
mm,
not that these are like my characters are bad guys, or bad people, but they're real people, and real people aren't perfect.
yeah. And I think you start them off probably as pretty sympathetic characters, people who, um, you know, who either just need the money to, get by, to pay a debt or something like that, and they just take one thing, and then it becomes like a slippery slope. Like how much, is one thing, and especially since you describe like the whole team gets in on it, I feel like there's a lot of room there for a lot of argument. Like they're not going to be in agreement on everything. Like I'm sure in a team of bad guys like this, sympathetic bad guys,
Yeah.
but bad guys nonetheless. I'm sure one of them probably wants to set fires more often, and one of them's maybe more cautious and is like, no, we need to like lay low. Um, then there's maybe people who, when the investigator comes in, maybe it's a question of like who's gonna snitch, you know. Not that that's really the story you're telling. I think the story, the seed of the idea is really like people can people in power can really like be corrupted or are corruptible. I don't know. They're not all good, like you said. I think it was a really interesting premise that you presented, and yeah, I'm thinking of like I can't do the Stephen Welch thing where like you spin a tail and like present like A, B, and C options on how to take the story, but it's a good option. Have you by have you read Fahrenheit 451 by any chance, or like watched the movie?
I haven't. No, I have
Yeah.
not seen that. I've watched the trailer for
Hmm.
the
Yeah.
but
No,
no,
same
no, I
thing.
haven't. I haven't seen it.
No. Uh, I think not that this is like a direct corollary, but I was just thinking since you said Michael B. Jordan as a potential star, he starred in an updated version of Fahrenheit 451. So, it could be like worth watching and seeing like if there are any like nuggets there that you
Yeah,
wanna pull. I mean, that's about like burning books and burning knowledge systems. This is your story is much more about the darkness that lies within. not so much the darkness of society, you know.
Well, to an extent, though, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Mm,
I guess you could argue society makes people turn dark. I don't know, man. We're reading Friar Lawrence, and Friar Lawrence in like Romeo and Juliet seems like a way more deep person than I feel like his character is maybe given thought to, right? Because
mhm,
he's just like, yo, no one starts out bad or evil, you know. There are events or things that happen that make people evil, and like some of
mhm.
that is society in a sense. You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying. I don't know what we got going on right now in the world is kind of wild like that with society and all the varying opinions uh, on certain things that are getting thrown out there.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's crazy. But for instance, right? Here's a crazy thought. So in Westfield, right? This was on the radio. There was a fireman who got busted in a sting operation trying to say suggestive things to a 13-year-old girl. Now, this dude has been to some of the elementary schools in the area because they run fire alarm tests, right? Now, you would think you could trust the firemen, right? But then you hear stuff like this, and it's like, what?
Right.
So I don't think this actually answers the question that we were talking about with society, because society certainly didn't do that to this dude. But just the idea that's like, I guess what I'm harping on is just because it's your job to like help people, right? That's what you're paid to, does not mean
Mhm.
you're actually a good person. So
Yeah.
perhaps there's some sympathetic characters within this, I'm thinking, but mostly it's just like, look, not all these guys who you say are heroes are actually heroes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think um, I totally see it. First off, that's truly awful story.
Yeah.
Coming from Springfield slash Westfield. No bueno.
No, no.
Like on multiple levels, that's really messed up. But yeah, like you would assume you could trust, a fireman, in that situation, but just in general, just
Mm,
you know, to pay a service, and not steal. You know
right.
what I mean? So, I think the concept you have is really interesting. And I do think um, it could be interesting to see it like, it sounds like you have an idea of it getting bigger and bigger. You said like, oh, at one point, like there's multiple fires a week and the investigator comes in. I think, just showing like sort of someone sliding into,
Mm,
you know, doing one small bad thing into doing horrendous things. You know what I mean? Um, Not that I want to compare your your firefighters to Nazis, but you know, isn't that like what like psychologists say about like the Nazis?
hmm
Like they got them to do one terrible thing, and then they sort of program them to do other terrible things. You know what I mean?
mm.
Not that you're talking about Nazis here, but
No,
same
no.
principle.
Same principle, right? That whole domino
Oh
effect is
God.
like if you get
Oh,
okay with one thing, you slowly become more uh, adaptable or um, amicable to other things. It's like, well, you let that slide, so what else are you willing to let slide?
yeah. And I also think you know holding these guys to account in some way, either by having them get found out, or having them experience, like having them witness, somebody detailing like how horrible it was to experience a loss. Maybe they encounter someone who's like, oh, someone stole this, um, for me, and they're face to face with the person that they've hurt. You know what I mean? Not only did their house literally go up in flames because of these people, but now they don't have something. You know what I mean? So, um, I think having these people reckon with that, either on a plot level or even on a story level, by just having them being punished at the end of the story. You know what I mean? Which, if they're burnt to a crisp. I would say that's a pretty that is a punishment. So,
Do
you
you
know,
think like so? What I'm thinking, based on like what you've been saying about like the whole punishment thing, like the whole if you're gonna choose to live this life, right, then you're most likely you have to understand you can die by it too. So
yeah.
like maybe the detective per se, like you're saying, he comes in and he has evidence of it, right? And like he comes to it and it's at a fire and it's like, look it, you're coming downtown with me, like to whoever the main guy is, and the guy's like, I'm not doing anywhere with you. You know what I mean? Like I gotta go in there and I gotta like I don't know, not save these people, some sort of thing, and he just
Hmm.
chooses ultimately. He's like, if you're going there, you're not coming out, and he chooses to go in there, right? So he
Hmm.
chooses to die, like in the fire,
Yeah.
for like what he does or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think that could be, that's also pretty messed up. You know what I mean? Like, is he going in the fire to like do more robbing, or is he going in the fire to do something noble? Um, like I was thinking maybe there comes a point in the story where like, of course they're destroying property, but like, what if they didn't know somebody was in the building? And they're trying to like they're weighing the option between saving a person and stealing something expensive. You know what I mean? And I don't know. Not I don't know where I'm going with this, but
No, but that's good. So like maybe he books them, like catches them in the act, and someone they don't know who's still in there, and then it's like they choose to go in there. He's like, "Get back over here!" And like he goes in, the guy goes in there and saves said person, but they die. Well, then
hmm
it's like, all right, well, what do I do with my case? You know what I mean? Like he's dead.
yeah. I don't know. And like I also don't know if like hearing that back, I'm like, I don't think having them like die an honorable death is like the most interesting way to end the story. It's like, oh well, they've been shitty the entire time. Let's just like have them die and you know die by doing a good thing. I don't know. I guess it depends on how you frame it. Um, is it a victorious death? I hope not. I know.
Well, that's a good
I don't
question.
know.
Like that whole idea of like the Phoenix thing. Like, oh, if they by doing this, does it redeem them of what they have done? And it's like,
Right.
no, they need to suffer
Right.
for what they've done. So maybe what they do is like, those nanny cam type things. All right, so
hmm
someone they stole from had a nanny cam, and it shows them stealing stuff, but the
hmm
person it belongs to is in a hospital. So then, like, they're trying to kill this person in a hospital, and then it becomes like I don't want it to. I don't want it to get too stupid, not like stupid but out of hand. But then, like, what if they try to set the hospital on fire to take this person out? That might be too far. But they definitely go there with intent to, like, snuff that individual out, and then
Yeah.
the detective ends up showing up, and that's where possible confrontation
Yeah.
occurs.
No witnesses. Yeah. Yeah, I think this is interesting. I was thinking like, as far as like story structure goes, if there's anything such as a story structure, maybe, so you have the beginning of the story, firefighters, um, going into buildings, and then, there's one chance where somebody gets to steal, you know, and they do. And it starts out as a one man operation, and then, gradually the team finds out and they want in too. And it's going well. At first, like you would assume in a story like this, like, oh, if they keep on doing it, it must be going well for them. So like you said, in your pitch to me, like, um, there aren't enough fires, so they start setting it themselves. So you know, that is probably like still. part one of the story, but I also think like maybe a midpoint in the story is like they set these fires. They're pretty reckless in setting these fires. Maybe they start off being cautious, making sure that nobody's in the building. They're scoping out the places that they set fires to. They're being very careful, and then maybe like the midpoint of the story is like as they get more reckless and more comfortable doing what they're doing, like people get hurt. It's not just like a building is set on fire, like they steal stuff, but like people die in the building, and that's like an oh shit moment. And that's when maybe like the investigator comes in. You know what I mean? Like, maybe there's evidence here of not just a building going up in flames, but like there being some arson, of course, murder going on. So I don't know where I'm going to take this now. I just did like the Michael Scott ramble, but I think if you get to a point in a story like this where it's like, oh shit, like we have blood on our hands, then I think that's where the operation probably falls apart. Some people in the operation are like, let's stop. Somebody might be like, let's confess. Another person might be like, F that, let's keep doing what we're doing. You know what I mean? So I think there's a lot of potential. That was just one idea, and then maybe there's something at the end where maybe one of them confesses, and then while that person's confessing, like there's a fire going on, and I don't know, the one person that decided to keep on trucking with with this scheme is like stuck in the fire, and dies in the fire. I don't know stuff. You seem to have a better grasp on this story than I do, so I trust your instincts above mine. But I'm really compelled by the premise that you pitched to me. I would watch this movie.
Thanks, man. And don't you sell your... I've written down all the beats you just laid out, so I think that's the route I'm gonna go, man. I like the idea, especially how you talk about like people start getting hurt, right? Like I feel like that's like when questions start getting asked, like. I'd have to look into this like fire terminology and like how they do some of that stuff, but like the idea of like, well, look, like you didn't do X, Y, or Z, and that's like not protocol, man. Like there's some argument for like maybe some arson, or some other fire related no-nos, and then
Right.
And he keeps like he has like one of those boards, and he's like, oh, building here, building there, in like a pattern, right? Like, oh, sporadically, like it's starts like an electrical fire, right? Here, and here, and the alarms are disconnected, right? Nobody hears anything, and then people are getting hurt, and somehow, this truck is always here, right? Like it's only this truck. It's the only one that's showing up, and in record time, but people are still getting hurt.
Yeah.
Like they're not caring. So
Sounds a little bit like Nightcrawler at this point. Have you ever seen that movie?
I have, yeah.
Oh my god, good movie. But I was just thinking, like, oh, it has a little bit of the Nightcrawler in it, where he's causing accidents.
Exactly.
Just take pictures.
And then like one of the guys, like I like how you said, like he goes kind of behind like the team's back and confesses, and it shows like that duality of like him confessing, them at another job, maybe the cop showing up at said job, and they're coming out of the building when they hear someone like, no, I don't want them to be heroes. I want them to die.
Let them die, Steph.
Yeah, I want.
No, I just think, especially since you've built out like a team of firefighters, being sort of like the culprits here, I think there's a lot of room to have like different moral standpoints. Like where's the line for each person on the team? Yeah. So like when do people start really, when does the internal conflict in this team start? And how does that maybe lead to, either the team disintegrating, this whole thing going on disintegrating. I don't know. I just think there's a lot of interesting things in there because I mean one of them's probably, um, you know, uh, not as committed as the others, and I can imagine one person feeling really guilty, for things that they've done. So I don't know.
No, I think that's excellent, man. I think I'm gonna roll with that. I think the other thing just becomes like the ending, right? The ending, I think, is where um, I need to stick it a little bit, but really like that idea of somebody not as, like you're saying, committed to this cause, this heisting that they're doing because people are getting hurt. Like someone's
Yeah,
conscience starts like, oh shit, like I'm gonna be judged for this, one way or the other. I
yeah.
wanna I wanna come out on top of it in the best way I can. So
I was thinking, maybe this is something you can think about for the ending. So I think part of the success of all of these plans like working out for this team is that they're working as a team on this, like, you know, so that while um, some of the team is, you know, stealing, from the building, the other people are actively partaking and putting out the fire. You know what I mean? Like, there are people on the team, so they are they are working together to sort of like make that happen. And then I feel like as people start like feeling guilty, like dropping off the team, and maybe you have like one or two people left, who are like, yeah, we're gonna do one more, um, the plan becomes like it cannot sustain itself because there's not enough people to like fulfill the operation. You know what I mean? Um, like there's not those people on standby in case like the fires get like too out of control. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Um, I think the way you have it right now is like they steal and then they set fire, right? Or maybe it's like they set fire and they steal while the fire's going on.
yeah,
Um,
that one.
so I think, in the end, if someone's trying to steal while the fire is going on and they don't really have like a team supporting them in that effort, of course it's going to fail. You know what I mean? So maybe that's something to think about for the end. Like if you have like half of the team who's taking part in that last ditch effort, while the cops are, while the other half of the team is confessing, and then the cops try to show up at the the scene of the crime. I would imagine the team that's already in the building is not going to make it out because they only have half a team. I don't know. Something to think about.
No,
I don't know if
absolutely,
any of
man.
that made sense, but
It does make perfect sense. I mean, and forgive me, I realize I can watch this.
no, no, no. Take your notes.
Taking my notes, but no, man, that's perfect. That's perfect. Okay. No, that's perfect, buddy.
Any other thoughts that you want to share about this?
I guess I feel like now we kind of like bulleted it out. Like when you just bopped out all the boom, 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 boom. Connecting those dots. It's like, well, damn. Now I don't know. I gotta come back to this at some point and be like, yeah, this is a story. I can write this. So I appreciate you doing a lot of the legwork right there. At least with organizing it and helping wrap up like that midpoint. To the end, because
Mm,
I don't. Being honest with you, those are like I think some of the hardest parts. Like it's hard enough getting started. I think it's fair to say we can both attest to that. But then, like, when you're like, oh, I'm at the midpoint, how do I keep this going? Or, and then how do you, like, I guess not tie a bow, but like, end something,
Yeah.
where it's like, I like this, maybe other people will like it too.
Hmm.
So I think endings and beginning, I guess all aspects are hard. Ending, middle, and beginning are hard. You know?
I mean, I agree. I kind of think coming up with just thoughts is easier than like making them stick together. You know what I mean? So yeah, definitely sticking the landing is hard to do though.
For sure. Then the other thing, it's like when you hear like other people's ideas, you're like, oh, okay, man, like maybe try X, Y, or Z, and then you're looking at your own thing, you're like, well, how come I can't do that here?
Hmm.
But no, man, like I said, you just like, bam, 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 like this, and it's like, yeah, all of that. I'm gonna all of that. Just it's awesome. You
Well,
know.
take it with a grain of salt. I know uh, how whatever you do with this, if you plan on writing it, I'm sure it will be amazing. So I have faith.
Oh,
I
thank
have
you,
faith in
buddy.
you.
Thank you. I think again, like something that I appreciate that a lot, man. But I think one of my favorite things is just the title. I like that, like smoke.
Smoke. Yeah.
Like if it was a poster, right? Like so, like you'd see the smoke, and then like as it goes in the air, like it slowly becomes like the main dude's face. Like, or each member of the team has their own poster, and it's just
Hmm.
their face in the smoke, and it's like Michael B. Jordan, smoke. Chadwick Boseman, smoke. George Clooney, smoke. Or like Iko Uwanis, smoke. You know what I mean? Like it just
Hmm.
their face in the Jay Hernandez smoke. Yeah,
Smoke.
that'd be cool. But I really appreciate you laying out all those beats, and I will come back to this at some point, um, and I'll definitely give it I'll light it up when I so stupid. I'm so sorry I said that, but I appreciate you, Dan, as well, listening to this and helping me out. Thank you guys if you're watching for listening. Hopefully you dig it. You'd like to read this or watch it at some point if it ever happens. But in any case, this has been another thrilling adventure of Pitch Slap, and we hope you have a lovely night.
Stay gold.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.